Welcome to the Porn Reboot Podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
At Porn Reboot, we believe that compulsive sexual behavior needs to be tackled in a holistic way. We address not just your habits, but any traumatic events that have impacted you in your life. We also address co-occurring disorders, addictions, and habits, as well as limiting beliefs. So in order to best serve our clients, we've curated and brought together some of the best professionals in their fields to coach and support you through your reboot journey. In certain episodes, we'll be sharing some excerpts from our coaches' sessions, and I hope that you find these helpful. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. JK here. Today, I have a special guest with me, Dwayne Dean. Dwayne is the man, the professional, the legend who is going to be running our coach certification program. You guys had a lot of questions, so I decided to bring the man on himself so we can give you guys enough clarity between the both of us. Welcome, Dwayne. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Appreciate your time very much. So gentlemen, those of you watching, we're going to jump right into it. I actually have your questions and concerns pulled up on my phone here. A little bit of context, and I'll allow Dwayne to share who he is. I met Dwayne when I was taking certification coaching. I'd been looking around to just, go back to the basics and clean things up. And I actually have his training manual sitting in front of me, CCAR's Recovery Coach Academy. And he mailed me the book, and I got on trainings with him every evening, once a week for a couple of weeks. Before the end of it, I was like, this guy has been the most engaging trainer that I have ever had. I'm ADHD. He keeps it after a long day in the evening. I was laughing. But he would also get serious. He would get in. He would critique my coaching skill. He humbled me because I thought I knew what I was doing. And he was like, man, the way you asked this, I was like, okay, all right. So I was like, the man knows his stuff. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say that when it comes to training coaches and peers, he is definitely leagues above me. So glad to have you, Dwayne. Can you tell us just a little bit about your background in addiction recovery and how you came to be doing this, so the gentlemen know who they're going to be speaking to?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm honored to be here today. Yeah. So I am a recovery coach professional facilitator. I also hold some other certifications. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist and a registered peer supervisor. How I've gotten to where I am today is I'm a person in long-term recovery. My addictions were primarily with substance use, and I do have some mental health diagnoses that I'm also recovering from, that I'm in long-term recovery from. I've experienced different levels of obsession and compulsion. It has taken me to some dire straits, to be honest. I experienced different levels of lawlessness, homelessness, just simply trying to get back to who I am. And to be honest, not knowing who that was, but to find out who exactly I was a task for me for years. My active addiction. And when I talk about addiction is all about obsession and compulsion, whether it's substances, whether it's masturbation, whether it's porn, whether it's alcohol, it could be food or lottery or gambling, obsession and compulsion is obsession and compulsion, So for me, I dealt with it for about 27 years. Today, I'm a little over 11 years in long-term recovery. And what I do today is I try to help and support others' effort towards change when it comes to recovery from any type of addiction. I do some research on my daytime job, and then in my evening job, I train recovery coaches. I started doing direct care initially, where I was one-on-one with people that are in or seeking recovery. And then I started realizing that I can actually get to a lot more people if I teach and train others to actually do the direct care and partner up in the peer support So I started doing research and training others to learn just the simple knowledge, skills, and abilities that it takes to help someone that has a goal towards recovery.
So good. Dwayne, thank you for sharing that. I will tell you all that that's just skimming the surface of Dwayne's experiences. Those of you who end up being a part of our program will have the opportunity to hear some stories. He's a very engaging trainer who uses a lot of examples as he's training you. So you'll get to know him much better as you do this. One more thing is that, Dwayne, I know you're involved in quite a bit of research, and I just wanted to mention, for those of you who are curious, Dwayne keeps up to date with everything. He partners with a lot of higher education. So when it comes to what is happening in recovery across the board and in training, the man is not only an advocate for the best type of recovery care there and the need for peers and the need for coaches, which, let me just explain it to y'all. This is not easy work. This is almost, I wouldn't say it's thankless because there's a benefit, but many people don't see the need for a lot of the type of things that he's doing. So he's one of the few professionals who's advocating for this. So he's very passionate about what he does. With that being said, we're going to jump into some of the questions that y'all had, and I will be taking the questions with Dwayne. The first question is, how many levels of coaching are there in the Reboot Coach certification? So this is going to be our first cohort for doing this. Dwayne has trained our entire Reboot strategist team already and certified them. We'll be talking about what certification means. This means that if you were to speak to somebody about becoming a part of our program, I wanted to make sure that you were speaking to a certified peer recovery coach who was going to talk to you about it. If they were going to charge or do anything, they were doing it in a compassionate way. And Dwayne made sure that we were up to standard when it comes to that. So that's going to be the first level. If you have passion to help men who are struggling with their out of control sexual behavior, I think it's very important to do it in the right way, with learning what are the right boundaries, what are the ethics. That is going to be the first level. There are two other levels. The second levels are going to be deeper levels on ethics and other skill sets, with the final level, once you actually have a foundation, going to be on the marketing and branding in an ethical way of your coaching business, if you choose to go that route. Dwayne, do you have anything else to just add in terms of like, what are some of the coaching skills at level 1 that somebody can expect to get?
Yeah, so some of the core and foundational coaching skills that we like to start off with is really just teaching how to treat a person as their best own resource, and that comes with asking good questions, actively listening, managing your own biases. That's a big thing a lot of times for coaches. Just teaching some cultural competency, teaching some motivational interviewing skills. I also, with supporting others' effort towards change, is learning how to manage my biases and my judgments, allowing someone to be simply the master of their life, giving them the ability to have self-direction and how to treat them and accepting them as they are and not feeling the need to have this cookie cutter approach, but give a more individualized center of support opposed to everyone doing the same thing. How can I tailor my coaching around your needs, and not that I try to push, pull, or drag you in any direction, but find out what your goals are and help support your effort towards change.
So good. Thank you. Thank you for breaking that down. Those are actually the exact same things that I learned with Dwayne, and he goes into the weeds with them, where you learn how to do all of these things practically. We also graded, and you're going to be graded on each level. We're focusing on this first level for now. The second question is, somebody had just asked, I'm wondering if your program is APSATS certified. APSATS, I believe, is Association for the Partners of Sex Addicts and Trauma Therapists or something like that. We are not certified by any body. By body, I mean certifying body. And Dwayne is not showing up as a representative of any certification body except his own training program. You can see the name behind that, Peer Recovery Training. So we are not associated with anyone. And personally, gentlemen, there's a very specific reason for this. There is not much out there when it comes to sex and pornography addiction and all the compulsions that revolve around it. It's also a rapidly growing problem. with the rise of OnlyFans, with what's happening on social media, with sex trafficking. And we wanted to maintain the integrity of our training without attaching ourselves to anybody who may not be doing things that are up to date. Dwayne does a lot of research, so do I. We want to stay up to date. So the goal of this is to eventually build our own thing and our own body, hopefully. But in order for us to do that right from the get-go, we have to be very transparent, direct about what we are teaching you. We want to teach you the relevant skills, unencumbered by any other association. So no, we're not associated with anybody. This is a collaboration and partnership between Elevated Recovery and Peer Recovery Training Services. Dwayne, is that fair to say that I didn't overstate?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And one thing that I found to be super important is that I am a person with lived experience. I have something that you cannot buy. You cannot go to school. I don't care what college you go to. My lived experience has such a great value that it can't even be purchased. And that's what we bring. That's the internal recovery capital that we bring to the table. Now, if you want to give me a certificate, okay, fine. But the certificate, the degree, none of that compares to the value of just simply, I've been there, I fell in that hole, I'm out of that hole. Let me show you how to get a grasp and pull yourself up out of that hole. So the lived experience is of so much value when it comes to addiction. Matter of fact, for years, even in 12-step programs and things of that nature, their saying was always that one addict helping another is without parallel. That means it cannot be compared to any other type of recovery supports. It's been proven. And in my research that I do here in South Africa, in Colombia, and when I say here, the United States, we measure adherence retention with the use of peer support, meaning people with lived experience. It has been proven over and over again to be more effective than prayer, therapy, counseling, any other recovery supports. I'm not saying that it's better than that, none of other methods work, but when we're talking about adherence and retention, this has been proven to be more effective.
Dwayne, thank you so much for that. I'm glad I gave you the space to share that, because that is one of the things that has separated Elevated Recovery as well from others, which is I myself, as you have had a lived experience of this. We have therapists, we have coaches, we have doctors who work with us. They are great at what they do, and they're instrumental to our clients' healing journey. However, it is your accountability partners, it is the peers, it is the reboot heroes who were addicted themselves that can call you out in a way that nobody can, because there's so much nuance, so much pain, so much of a need for forgiveness and kindness that you can only find within the spirit, the consciousness of another person who has lived it. Dwayne, I really appreciate that. That's also what you're going to be getting here. And one of the reasons why we are not really, there's actually no need for us to partner with an association of therapists who is going to give us a seal of approval for something that we have lived and overcome ourselves. It's real. Our life is real. What we're dealing with is real. The next question was, can I ask what certifications you issue and what level I would need to attend to be issued one? Right now, we're just starting with the first level, and this is going to be our first cohort. So we're making it very affordable to everybody. The certification is a certified reboot coach level 1, where you will have certain skill sets, and Dwayne will later on talk about the specific skills he expects you, because you will be tested and have to practice this, that he will expect you to have in order to graduate from the program. You're not just going to show up, do the blah, 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 and then expected to be given a certificate. You are a representative of 2 organizations when you're doing this, and we want to make sure we put our name behind people who are actually going to be ready to go out there and actually do the work. There was a question Dwayne and I were kind of trying to get clarity on. Somebody had asked if they use an acronym CPD, maybe we got that wrong, involved to maintain this, or is this a one-time course? So brothers, for those of you who are like, well, do I need to keep coming in here to maintain it or to keep leveling up the skill sets? First of all, this is not a course where you're watching a bunch of videos. This is an actual training. And I'll ask Dwayne what he thinks about this, but listen, I've built a very successful coaching practice, and I still went back and I saw Dwayne's peer recovery training, and I didn't go there thinking, oh, that's basic stuff. I know that. I paid the fee, and I went in there and I sat in there with him every week, and I learned simply because it's training and I need to practice. And if I feel I'm out of practice, I will come back. We will make a decision on that, but I want to tell you guys that our mindset around this is continued training. Dwayne, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of go back to where I left off on the last question, because I think it's something important to note. I don't want anyone to get the idea that, hey, I don't need therapy, I don't need counseling, I don't need all these other recovery supports. Reboot coaching, peer coaching from people with lived experience, it is a piece of the puzzle that fits intricately with the other pieces of the puzzle when we talk about therapy and other recovery supports. When it comes to lived experience, people with lived experience pretty much understand where you're trying to go because they've been where you've been, understand where I'm coming from. That's the saying that we say, we've been where you've been. Some of the skills that we plan on teaching, and a lot of these skills, and it's a plethora of them, and we do them in such a way that is practical. The class I'm purposed to in every training is to present the content to you in a practical way that you can immediately apply it to your reboot coaching. That means you don't have to go back and do long division to figure out what the hell Dwayne said earlier. I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to give you the practical application, and we'll even practice it in the training sessions. We'll talk about different things as far as values and differences, stigma, labels, how to properly share your story, when to share your story, and find out that you don't have to always share your story. But there are some very purposeful times that it can be really helpful in supporting someone's effort towards change. We'll do a little talking about different motivational interviewing skills, understand the different stages of change that recovery takes, because recovery is a process. It's not an event. A lot of times we look at recovery as just being an event. No, it's actually a process, and it goes through different stages. So we want to make sure that we give a stage appropriate support. So being able to recognize where a person is. One of the sayings that I use is that we're like the recovery Uber. We meet you where you are. We take you where you want to go, even if it's not that far. So we meet you where you are. We don't leave you where you are. We meet you where you are, and we take you where you want to go. Not where I want you to go, but where you want to go. We let you make the decisions. We find out what your goals are, and we'll teach skills to best support those goals. We teach a couple other things that's really helpful when it comes to like cultural competence, because you deal with various and very diverse set of people. We also teach self-care, because I can't actually it's incontrovertible that I take care of myself as far as self-care and enhance my own wellness in all 8 dimensions of wellness, just not just about the recovery or the abstinence or the reduction of behaviors, but also taking care of my physical, emotional, intellectual, social wellness. I got to make sure I'm taking care of myself before I can take care of anyone else. So we teach skills about that. We have really good breakout discussions on topics around self-care, and we create plans, grow plans and smart plans and just simply recovery plans, first for ourselves and then for the people that we're going to support. And that's just a glimpse of what we actually teach. There's so much that it's so hard.
I'm sitting here smiling, and I had a good sensation internally, because this is just a reminder of when I would sit down in the evening after a very long day of coaching. I would show up in the evening for Dwayne's training. It was like 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I would show up, and he'd be just dropping all of these gems, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna copy that and say that to my client. But it was so deep. A quick note for those of you who are also going through the process, because I know some of you am I ready to change? And I've shared the story of how I had a lot of imposter syndrome starting off as a coach, until I remember attending a conference, and there's this lady who had began coaching partners of addicts with betrayal trauma. And I remember her statement when she said, you don't have to be healed to help. And the moment I heard that, for me, it was the message I needed to hear at that point, because I had been searching for perfection. And perfection is also one of those big traps that an addict in recovery, a rebooting man, can quickly fall into. And it will lead you down a trail of shame and inability to forgive yourself. And in that moment, what she said was exactly what I actually needed to hear. So Dwayne is going to take you through some things. I want to just give you a heads up that may, I'm not making any promises, actually help you in your reboots. Wherever you think you are, you may go through the stages of change and you may realize, oh, see, I always thought that I was at maintenance. But the truth is, I just started action. Or I've been playing this game of preparation, even though I've been in the groups, but really I never took action. And I think that's a positive thing. I don't think you should ever feel like backing out. I think if you feel that during the training process, something comes up for you about your own recovery process, remember, you're sitting down with a professional with a lived experience. Open your mouth and share with him. Hey, man, something's coming up for me in my own recovery. That's one of the benefits of doing this with someone who has a lived experience, as opposed to somebody who is going to give you therapy.
I think part of that statement is you don't have to be healed to help. But if you, and I'm trying to remember, and because I heard the cliche, and it's like, it's almost like you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So you don't have to be healed to help, but if you help, you will continue to be healed. And I say that because the only way you keep this, when I say this recovery, the best way to keep it is by giving it away. You helping others, it'll help you mature in your own process. And then it also puts you, it works as a deterrent. So now you become role model and mentor. So you have to role model that process of recovery. You have to be that role model of recovery for others, and start to live a life above reproach. So the more I give to people that's in or seeking recovery, it makes me stronger whenever those, I don't even want to call them weak times, but any instances that present themselves, it just makes, it's a no-brainer because I continue to help and support others.
So good. So good. The next question here is, what time each week at the coaching calls? I think we had already decided on Wednesday evenings, I believe.
Yes. Wednesdays evenings, and the time could possibly be, I'm in Eastern Standard Time. I would say around 5 or 6 Eastern Standard Time, which would be, I think, 4 or 5 Central Standard Time. And again, we gotta still work out those little nuances, but it's gonna be in the evening on Wednesdays would be probably a pretty good day for most people.
Okay. And gentlemen, just so you guys know, the sessions are going to be recorded, but I will strongly recommend, and those that know, if you've worked with me, what I mean when I say I strongly recommend, that you actually take the time and show up live. It is absolutely worth it to be around other human beings, because the work you will do after this and during this will be live work with other humans. You do not want to make this investment and then simply go like, oh, well, it was just a course where I watched a bunch of people talking. Dwayne is active. That means they're going to be breakout rooms. You're going to be practicing. He's going to be jumping from room to room and checking in on what you're going to be doing. There's going to be emotions coming up. We are like, oh, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I have the skill. You're going to have to deal with your own in front of him. And he needs to see that you're able to handle it. You cannot get that experience if there's any part of your brain that's just like, oh, okay, thank God, there are recordings. If you're having that feeling as you're watching this Q&A, please banish that and just make a commitment to show up live. With that being said, even though we're showing up live in this case, there may be a week or two, just for full transparency, with this particular cohort where we may have a break in a week. I believe there's space for that, where we might just skip 1 week based on some things that might be coming up. But we will announce all of those things during your first onboarding call. I will be present for the call to introduce Dwayne when we first get started. Let's see. The next question, and we got just 3 more, was, does the certificate we apply for hinge upon what stage of reboot we're in? So a couple of things. Language is important. It is, does the certificate that you qualify for, because you're going to have to qualify for, hinge upon what stage of reboot you are? Absolutely not, with the exception of, if you speak to someone on our team about becoming a part of this program, but you are still in the early stage, which means that maybe you're somebody who's been following me for a while, but you've never invested in working with us. You have not actually taken a step in your recovery, or we feel that, quite honestly, that you are lying to yourself. We are very honest and brutal. I will call you out. If you show up to the session, Dwayne is a professional, and he sees that you might be in active relapse that is disrupting what is going on in the training, we will call you out and we will likely issue a refund. But I want to make it clear, this doesn't mean that you need to be, oh, I'm no longer experiencing any sort of slips in order to be a part of this. But please be willing to show up and be very honest about where you are. This isn't addiction recovery coaching for you, but it's still addiction recovery, and we're going to deal with the realities. So show up with honesty in your heart. If that comes up, just be willing to bring it up. This is probably a good time for me to just kind of set one quick rule that you're here to learn a skill set, but please do not take advantage of it to feel like, oh, this is a space for me to get therapy. Dwayne will quickly move you back to the purpose of what we are doing here. I'm here. The Elevated Recovery team is here. The Reboot Heroes are here. The strategists are here to support you in what you're doing personally. We're here for you. So if something comes up, bring it to us and we will support you. And then the two last questions are really on skill set and certification. With one being, someone says, you specifically mentioned certification in the United States. Does this apply to other countries as well? What exactly is certification? Is this an accredited program or private program developed by you and the folks at Elevated Recovery? Allow me to reiterate, this is a private program that is developed in conjunction with our service, Elevated Recovery, and Dwayne's existing service, Peer Recovery Training, and we're operating within those boundaries. I think Dwayne has already talked about what it means to have a lived experience while doing this. So I'll be very direct. So there's no beating about the bush. If you are looking for a program where you can take your accredited certification and you can go to a particular place and you can present it and you will be given a job there, this is not what that is. However, that is also something that Dwayne provides in different states. So at the end of your work with him, if you have some questions about, well, how do I get certified in this particular state? How do I find resource in my states to help addicts or people that are struggling? Dwayne will be able to guide you, and he's very transparent about the states that he has where he is able to certify individuals in different things. That's his area of expertise. So please feel free to ask him. But as for this, you are coming away with a very, very powerful skill set. And based on how this first cohort goes, Dwayne and I really want to grow this. We have a passion for bringing this skill set of peers and people with a lived experience into the world. I don't know about Dwayne, but I feel that this is the way to go. If we have more people who have lived with this, who are given the skill sets to go out there and do that, we don't need a whole bunch of people coming to JK and Dwayne to get the help. Dwayne is already training people right now to do this. You already have like a team that's out there training others, training trainers.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm training trainers to train.
Yeah. So I'm bringing in the big dog at the top who has trainers who are training trainers to train, and he trained those original trainers. So I'm bringing the man himself. For those of you who are wondering about the price point, that's the reason why. Dwayne could have possibly just said like, hey, JK, partner with one of my trainers, but he's willing to put the time himself to come in and give you guys the raw skill set. It is not filtered. It is him teaching you directly, okay? The final one is for Dwayne, just to kind of round things up. For those of you who have watched thus far, thank you so much. It shows that you're definitely interested in this. Maybe this is a reiteration, but what are the skill sets, or how am I supposed to feel? Like if I invested in this and came out and I did it right, what am I able to do if I meet an addict, or if I have an addict in my life, or I'm already doing something where I'm maybe in the health field already, I'm a nurse or someone like this, and suddenly I'm around addicts in a hospital environment or any environment. How is that what should I be able to do by the time I have this skill set?
Absolutely. I can remember, and I'll put it like this. I can remember at one time, and I was knee deep in my addiction. But I always knew I was destined to be great. I was just existing, and somewhere within me, it was a part of me that wanted to live. And then I tapped into that part that wanted to live and realized that it wanted to thrive, but thrive by helping others learn how to live. If you're that person that say, you know what, I've endured some challenges, or I even watch others endure some challenges and some barriers to their greatness, when it comes to addiction. If you're that person that say, you know what, I think I have what it takes to help others meet their goals when it comes to recovery, or just simply to thrive in life, to live life on life's terms, if you're that person that say, you know what, I think I can do this, but I just don't know how. This is the opportunity to get started. This is the opportunity to say, hey, I have some things, I come with some things, and we know what we're going to do. We're going to just put them out on the table. We're going to, like a puzzle, and we're going to put parts together. We're going to add some parts and make that picture and create that goal, that vision. One thing I realize is that anything that we want to do in life, we have to see ourselves doing it first before we can actually do it. Once we envision it, after that, it's all about action. And I have the resources, I have the skill set that I'm happy to share with you and train and teach you how to apply and when to apply that skill set. So I can go through all the subjects and topics again that I teach and train. But I think the most important thing is that I can provide an environment, the opportunity, the information for change. If you have that desire, if you come with a desire with a passion to want to not only continue to help yourself, but also help others, come on in. I have the skill set. We'll sit down. How do you say? Let's sup. Let's sit down and eat together. This is a very interactive training. It's very practical. It's enjoyable. And at times it's emotional. But all of that together will give you the knowledge, skills, and abilities to reach that dream, to reach that goal, to manifest that vision of you helping others when it comes to addiction.
So good. Dwayne, thank you so much for breaking that down. I couldn't have stated it better. I'm in full agreement. I will say this to wrap things up. One of the things I wish I had earlier on when I was getting started is somebody who expressed himself the way Dwayne did, which was the reason why when I sat in his training, I was like, I wish I had this. I had to spend many years to learn this skill set and make a lot of mistakes. But I know there are many men who have come through this and go like, exactly what you just said, that I realized that I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to thrive, but I wanted to thrive by helping others to learn how to live to the point of being able to thrive. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And that is what my mission has always been. So if you're a man who resonates with that and you're like, yup, that's me, that's what I want to do, I don't even know how to start. Gentlemen, don't worry about level 2. Don't worry about level 3. Come in here ready to just learn level 1, and we'll decide where we're going to go on the next step of the journey. Dwayne, so thankful for the time that you've made for us. Gentlemen, for those of you, when you finish watching this and you are ready, I'm going to provide a link for you to join. There will be emails that will inform you of the onboarding process. Of course, if you have any other questions, reach out to me directly. I'll clear them up. And we are beginning next week. Next Wednesday is our first session. So you want to pull the trigger and start kind of figuring out how you're going to make it at that time. Dwayne, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, You want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving? Then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.